How's it going, guys? Hope you're well. This is another video where I'm just going to be breaking down the steps that you should be taking to scale your six-figure deal sourcing business, only using virtual assistants. So this is going to be 100% hands-free. And the reason why I decided to make this video is because I was speaking with Miriam on the group call the other day, just about her business at the moment. She's obviously scaling really quickly. We've been speaking about using virtual assistants and how to kind of structure that for, I would say, probably the past couple of months, as Miriam's been smashing it. So I know there's other people as well that are doing really well, selling a lot of deals. And in your mind, you're probably thinking, how much longer can I keep up the activities that are getting me these results? And I've never really spoken about how you could possibly scale this business, right? The steps that I've given you have really been about what you put in, the work that you do. But I think it's probably time that I talk a little bit more about how you can take it up to the next level. And of course, the only way you can really do that is by building a team. Now, usually the thing that concerns people about building a team is the cost associated and the structure, paying tax for them and all of these other things, because it's not easy once you've got actual full-time employees. But there's an easier way to do it. And that's how I've really built a lot of my businesses, is by leveraging freelancers. So virtual assistants, essentially. Um, so once you know how to put these guys into certain roles, positions, and just kind of like delegate to them, it makes your life a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying that this is for everyone, by the way. So, the guys that have literally just started, are still in the process of maybe like building your investor list or haven't sold your first deal yet, for example, I would encourage you to do these activities yourself first, right? Because everybody that you're seeing that's getting those first couple of sales, or even the guys that are just smashing it, getting a lot of sales at the moment, they've all done it themselves, right? I don't think there's really anyone in the group that's getting those results using a team. I think there's maybe a couple of people, and now Miriam's doing it, but the majority of them are actually getting these results on their own. And that's what I done at the beginning until I started bringing on VAs and kind of like having my own little structure. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it. And like I said, don't rush into this. Um, it will take a little bit of time to get it right, because working with virtual assistants isn't easy, for those of you who have tried. So this is a process, right? But I just want to kind of give you the infrastructure so that when you're ready, you can kind of start setting it up. And then, like I said, things would be maybe a little bit easier for you to keep ticking, consistently. So let's go through it. So how to scale your six-figure deal sourcing business only using virtual assistants. Like I said, 100% hands-free. And let me actually make myself a little bit smaller here. Can I do that? Yeah, okay. So something to keep in mind, a virtual assistant can be anyone, right? So it can be a family member, it can be a friend, just pretty much anyone that you know in real life that needs to earn some extra money. Even if they've got a job, I suppose, as maybe like a little side hustle. Everybody's kind of going through a situation right now where they're trying to look for ways to make more money. So this is an opportunity that you can give people that you actually know in real life. And they'll just basically be working with you on a freelance basis. They get to work from home for a few hours per day doing the tasks that you set them. So, of course, it's quite a flexible role. You can also hire someone that's offering VA services online that you do not know personally. So that's probably what most people will be familiar with. It's like basically hiring someone from abroad in like the country, like the Philippines or somewhere like that. Um, and you'll usually find those people on websites like Upwork or People Per Hour. So go on Google, find those sites, check them out. You can find some really quality people on there. You'll also find nowadays that there's a lot of virtual assistants actually on Facebook offering their services. I get a lot of DMs from VAs. I never really take the time to check them out, being honest, but I see the messages from them saying, I offer these services. So it's probably quite easy now to find a VA. And it's the most cost effective way to do it as well, because these guys are really cheap. they only charge a couple of dollars per hour usually. I mean, my VAs, the ones that I worked with abroad, were only charging like $2 to $3 per hour. So when you do the maths, it's next to nothing. And they do a good job, right? It's just that you kind of have to keep an eye on them and make sure that the level of service stays where it's supposed to be. They're perfect for written tasks, of course, because usually that's mainly what they're offering. They can kind of like send messages for you, respond to people, etc. So they do the written tasks really well. I think what I struggled with the VAs abroad was that if I needed them to do phone calls, for example, there was a little bit of an issue with it because of the language barrier. So again, that's something you've got to kind of keep in mind. So you're getting them for really cheap, and they can do the very simple tasks, but keep in mind that, of course, getting on the phone and doing call out sessions for you might be a little bit more difficult for them. So that's something you've got to take into consideration. The alternative, though, is you can hire someone that's based in the UK. So they're still a virtual assistant, and you'll find them on the same websites, but they'll be based here. There is an English speaking person, but usually they're going to cost a little bit more to hire. So again, that's something you've got to kind of like weigh up. You guys know what type of money you're making from these deals. So it's definitely worth it for certain roles. You don't have to have them for every role. And I'm going to kind of go through each of the roles in a minute to make it a little bit clearer. But just something to keep in mind. Also, the UK based English speaking VAs sometimes have worked with some really good companies and they've got some extensive experience, right? So they're very good on the phone. They're very, very good at communicating or sales or whatever it is you need them to do in terms of getting on the phone and speaking with people. You haven't got any issues because they've got that experience. So again, although you're paying a little bit more, it's kind of worth it because they've got that skill set, right? What you can do to give yourself peace of mind is just check the actual reviews for the ones abroad and the ones that are based here. And on those sites that I mentioned, Upwork, People Per Hour, and there's many others, usually they've got reviews, so you can see people they've worked with before and what their thoughts were about the work. Sometimes you'll even see like examples of the work, so they might send like screenshots of the messages that they were sending, or the result that they got from that person doing the work. So you can check them out. You don't have to kind of go in blind, but definitely check them out. So just a few things to keep in mind. Like I said, working with virtual assistants isn't as easy and straightforward as people make out. It's worth it, and it does take some time, but I think with what I'm going to show you, it will make it a little bit easier. Okay, so like I said, that was just a few things to keep in mind as you consider whether you'd even want to work with virtual assistants or not. But if you do, this is a way that you can put together a little bit of structure that you can work from, and you'll only need to work with about 4 VAs, which is nothing really. Some people are hiring loads of VAs and then, making life a little bit more difficult for themselves. You can hire about 4 of them, especially if they know what they're doing. So again, like I said, you're going to check out their reviews, see what their past work's like, and you'll be able to hire people for the necessary roles and make your life a lot easier. Also, something to keep in mind that I didn't mention above was that although here I am giving each VA a role, and I'm pretty much giving every single role to someone, meaning you wouldn't have to do anything. Keep in mind that to begin with, you're going to be doing all of this yourself. This is how we start out. We're doing everything. I mean, it doesn't probably feel like you're doing all of this when you're doing it, but essentially, this is everything that you're doing on your own. And to say, you're going to know how to do every single one of these activities yourself, right? Firstly, apologies. So when you start giving these guys these roles, you're going to know how to show them what to do step by step. And what will start to happen is over time, you'll kind of like, so again, at first you'll be doing all of this yourself. And then over time, you'll hire people to take on each role step by step, basically. So it will be a gradual process. So for example, in fact, let's just go through the roles. So let me run through the roles and then I'll kind of explain it as I go through. So as you can see here, I've got the virtual assistant. So as I said, you only need about 4 of them. I've color coded it to make it a little bit easier to understand visually. So you've got the VAs, you've got the roles, so essentially what they'll be doing, and then the actual activities, so literally what they're going to be doing. So we'll start off with the first one, which is the investor outreach. So as you guys know, with my strategy, we are getting ourselves in the Facebook groups, we're picking our areas, our hot, high demand areas, and then the first real proper exercise is reaching out to the investors. So again, you'll be doing that yourself at first, and then over time, as everything starts to pick up and you're selling deals, then you might decide, you know what, I want to hire a VA to take on that role so I can focus on other things, right? So VA1 will, for example, I'm just, again, you can kind of do it in whichever order you want, whichever activity you decide you want to hand over to someone. But I've just done it in order like this, just for the visual, to be honest, right? But essentially, let's say the first VA is VA1. And what they'll be doing is the investor outreach. So they're going to be sending direct messages to the potential investors via voice note or written, and on Facebook. So via their direct messages. And you guys know what they'll be saying. And essentially, that's that initial message that they send to the investor to make sure that they're actually still looking for a rent-to-rent deal in the area that you're covering. So they'll take on that role. They'll start sending those messages out every day or however often you want them to. They'll also qualify and add those investors to the list, right? So again, at first you're going to be taking those calls, but then you might decide, okay, I want to let this person deal with it. And you're going to have to make that decision based on kind of what I mentioned above about where they're based. Are they able to do the phone calls for you? You know, is it someone that can handle those calls? Or are they someone that is only able to send a written message, right? Or you can get creative with it. You know, I've mentioned before about recording a voice note or recording a video that you can just send to every potential investor. So if you do that, then that's another option, because then all they need to do is just send it for you, right? But however they're going to do it, they're going to be sending those initial messages and then jumping on phone calls to actually conduct the qualifying call and essentially add them to the list. So this is how we're going to start to grow that investor list, or continue to grow the investor list, essentially, because you're already scaling. So VA2 will be handling the co-sourcer outreach, right? So they'll be sending the direct messages to potential co-sourcers. And again, it's going to be written or voice note, and again on Facebook. Okay. I'm talking mainly about Facebook because, as you guys know, that's mainly where we kind of operate the strategy. But of course, these guys can send messages and do all of these activities for you on other platforms as well. Essentially, they work for you, so you can decide what they do. But I'm just kind of giving you a guideline to work from, right? So they will handle that co-sourcer outreach. Again, something you will be doing at first. You're doing yourself at first, sorry. But then you'll hand it over to someone else. So now, think about it. You're doing all of these other activities, which we haven't gone through yet, but you know, you're doing everything else essentially. But now you've got somebody else that's sending messages to investors, getting on the phone with them, qualifying them, and your investor list is growing without you having to do anything, right? You're handling everything else, of course, until you kind of offload that to other people. But now you've got one less thing to worry about. And it continues to go on and on and on. And of course, that's a very important part of the business, right? Because this is how you grow your list. And as you guys have heard me say many times, your investor list is the backbone of your business. So if you've got someone that's working on that for you every day, it's amazing, right? That's a lot of value that they're giving you. So we are now talking about the co-sourcer outreach. So sending direct messages to the co-sourcers. This is how we're going to kind of build that network of sources that are going to start sending us deals that we can sell on. That VA, so VA2 will also be the person that's qualifying and securing the co-sourcers. So as well as sending the initial message, they will also jump on that introduction call, that initial phone call, just to make sure that they're someone we want to work with, and then adding them to the network as well. So again, not sure how you're going to manage these people, whether you're going to have a CRM or you're going to do it via a WhatsApp group or however you're going to do it. There's obviously loads of different ways. But however you are, that person will be able to kind of like update your files, right? Your VAs will be able to update all of the information, and then you should all be able to kind of like work with each other based on that information that's being put in. So again, investor list is now growing, in the background without you having to do anything. Co-sourcer network is now growing in the background without you having to do anything. So this is really powerful, right? VA2 will also handle letting agent outreach as well. So, and the reason why I've kind of done that, you probably can kind of see the pattern. First, VA is dealing with the investors essentially. So they're contacting them initially, they're qualifying them, they're adding them to the list, and they're going to have some other roles you'll see soon. But they're basically just dealing with the investors, right? We're putting this, it's trying to have some structure. VA2 is basically just dealing with the network, right? So you can already see they're speaking with the co-sources initially, they're qualifying them, having that initial call, adding them to the network. They're also going to be dealing with the letting agent outreach. So they're speaking with the letting agents, starting that relationship, adding them to the network. They're also going to be the network liaison. So they're the person that will stay in contact with the network. So the sources, the agents, every week to make sure that we've got deals coming in almost on autopilot, right? And that's not even a tough task, right? All they've got to do is just either be the person that sends the message to all of the co-sources or all of the agents, or the person that gets on the phone and calls all of them. Hey, how's it going? Happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. What deals are available or what properties are available, right? That's literally their role. So again, you've got some structure, you've got people that are dealing with these things for you whilst you're dealing with the rest of the things until you hand them over. So that's VA1 and VA2. Now we've got VA3, who handles the landlord outreach. So again, VA1 is dealing with investors, VA2 is dealing with the network, VA3 is dealing with the landlord, so the direct deals, right? So they will be calling or sending inquiries to landlords that are advertising their properties on classified sites like Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, etc. And their job is basically to get that initial yes, firstly. So they'll have the conversation with them, ask them whether they're okay with a company renting the property and, going through all the benefits. And then they will also be the person that follows up with the landlord after the proposal is proposed or presented, sorry, I should say. They will also be the person, so VA3 will also be the person that secures the deal. So they conduct the due diligence. So they're looking at the numbers, making sure the deal will stack up. They're sending the proposal to the landlord. They're also handling agreements and managing available deals. Now, in terms of sending proposals to landlords and agreements, that role is kind of like there's two people who kind of get involved in that, right? Because there's an admin as well. And again, once there's an admin on board, they're going to actually take on any admin roles that are being dealt with by the other VAs, essentially, right? But at first, when there's not an admin, they will be sending the proposals, which is obviously an admin role. They'll obviously be dealing with agreements and things like that. So yeah, that's VA3. Going back to VA1 again, is because now we're securing deals from VA3 is securing deals and uploading them to the system. So now, or essentially conducting the due diligence, sending the proposals, getting the agreements, managing the available deals, and VA1 is handling the investors again. So any deals that have been sent out from VA3, again, later on when there's an admin on board, they will be the person sending the deals out. But initially, VA3 will be sending the deals out. VA1 will respond to the inbound inquiries from the investors, right? So they'll answer the investor questions, they'll book in the viewings, they'll get the offers, they'll negotiate with the investors if they need to. They'll also do the follow-up call to the investors. So as you guys know, I always suggest calling your investors after you've sent the deal out to them, because you can send it in writing, they may not have seen it, or they may have seen it and been too busy. But if you get them on the phone, then of course you can kind of tackle any objections. The ones that are interested and didn't see it, you can just book them in for the viewings, etc. So they're going to be handling that. So again, VA1 just basically handles the investors, right? VA3 again is handling offers. So, and that's in terms of when VA1 gets an offer from their investor, they will send it over to VA3 to speak with the landlord or the network, the agent, the co-source, or wherever the deals come from. So VA3 essentially deals with offers, deals, landlords direct, right? So they'll get the offer, they'll present it to them, they'll negotiate if there needs to be negotiations, and they'll essentially get the offer agreed. Once the offer is agreed, they are also the person that will oversee the sale until completion. Okay, again, until there's an admin on board that can obviously help with that as well. All right, so very clear what everybody's role is. VA1 deals with investors essentially, VA2 deals with the network, VA3 deals with landlords directly and the actual deals themselves, and then VA4 comes on board and deals with all the admin. So they'll be sending the deals, sending and chasing any agreements. They'll be sending invoices. They'll be dealing with sending the deals out to the investor list via email, sending deals to the network if there's no investors that take the deal, posting the deal in the Facebook groups, in the WhatsApp groups, etc., etc. So anything like that, they'll deal with that. Okay, so everybody has a role. And again, this is me giving you a framework where you're not having to be involved at all. If you want to keep yourself involved, of course, you can kind of put yourself in whichever of these roles you decide to. You know, you might stay as the admin. You might let all the other roles be dealt with by the VAs, but you just still handle the admin, so you can kind of still have a bit of control over what's happening, what's being sent out, what's coming in, etc. But again, you can kind of make that decision. So that's literally the framework. I'm gonna post this with this post. So if you're watching this video, you should see this actual breakdown attached as well. So just have a look. So just to kind of put it all into context, right? Let's say you're paying a VA £10 per hour, and this is a UK based one. So they can send messages for you. They can also do calls. They can send voice notes. They can do everything. Let's say you're paying them £10 an hour, which is a good fee, to be honest. And let's say you're paying them for 2 hours per day, which is a lot of time, to be honest. Like my VA right now does an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on what I need them to do, and they get a lot done. So, and they're a UK based VA as well. So 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, £10 per hour is a good price. You can go a little lower, you can negotiate. But let's just say it's £10. So you'd be paying 1,600 per month for 4 VAs. So if you had 4 VAs doing that, so you're paying them £10 per hour for 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, you'd only be paying £1,600 for 4 people to be working for you, UK based. Like I said, it will be less if it's someone abroad. We have, as you guys already know, 150 plus examples of people selling deals without a team. So all the examples you see me put in the win section and other people put in the win section of their sales and their wins, 99% of them have done it without a team, right? Some of them are building teams now, which I'm working with them on, but the majority of them have done it without a team, right? So you're seeing people making £10,000 plus in 1 month in multiple cases. So you just have to imagine what you could do with a team if you have the right team in place. So hopefully what I've given you above is useful. You start implementing it. If you need a hand with it, reach out to me. It's something I can help you with. Other than that, the main point is to eventually get you to the point where you're selling deals, you've got some momentum, and you can kind of hand things over to your team and kind of just oversee things and sort of delegate more than anything. Right? So I hope you find that useful. Any questions, shoot me a message or leave a comment. Other than that, thanks for your time. Take care.